Hi, my name is Rai'jene White, and I'm going to be discussing the aggregate demand and aggregate supply for Chapter 32 and monetary policy for Chapter 35. My article is U.S. Manufacturing Contracts for 9 months straight by Chow Deng, published December 1st in the Wall Street Journal. So, to summarize this article, mainly talking about how the U.S. manufacturing production is going down at a declining rate. And this is because of production costs, rising production costs, and President Trump's tariffs. And so, the article mentions a ISM manufacturing PMI, which is basically an index that measures the overall health of the manufacturing sector in the US and measures factory activity. And so this index ranges from 0 to 100, 50 and above meaning growth, 50 and below meaning a decline in growth, so not growth. And so, how does this relate to supply and demand? Well, high cost and the demand is weakening. And so when firms are producing less because of these high costs, they have to cut back on jobs, they have to cut back on hiring, freeze jobs, or even lay people off. And so this ultimately puts a decline on our GDP and rises unemployment, which ultimately shifts our short run aggregate supply curve to the left, because when supply decreases, GDP decreases, unemployment rises, and the overall price level also rises because firms can only produce so much. They are limited now. But this also affects aggregate demand, not as much as aggregate supply, but it does affect aggregate demand. AD also shifts to the left because there is no output because they don't have any money. If you don't have a job, then you can't earn money. If you don't earn income, then you can't buy anything. So, can't buy anything, there is no output. So, overall spending is going down. Nobody is investing because there's no money. And so, well, there's no jobs to get the money. And so with this, it's really putting us in a high input but low output kind of environment, which really hints mild stagflation. And so there are some things that the policymakers, like the Federal Reserve, can do to stabilize this economy. They can cut interest rates. They can implement the expansionary fiscal policy, which they can do tax cuts. They can provide spending programs. They can provide subsidiaries to those industries that are going through this cost pressure, and this would all ultimately encourage investing. It would encourage jobs to open back up. It would encourage spending because they're cutting interest rates. And so this really affects me because I am a consumer. I love to spend money, and I'm also new to the work field. And so when I get my big girl job, I'm most likely going to be on a fixed income. And so if on a fixed income and manufacturing prices are rising, they usually come down on consumers. I'm going to have to learn how to budget really carefully so I don't um, go into debt, basically. So that's why this is so important to me. And yes, that is my